Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Career Readiness Initiative workshop for interview skills and attire. And this is specifically for students of the College of eTech. First, we're going to talk about interviewing in general. So, some interviewing skills that you can use to get ready is to practice, practice, practice. We want you to practice these interviewing skills before you actually step into a real interview, and this will help you be better prepared, maybe not feel as nervous, be able to think about your answers to questions beforehand, and just overall make you more confident. To help you practice, we do have a program that we've purchased for our students called Big Interview. You can use Big Interview to record yourself answering typical interview questions, and I'm going to walk you through this program a little bit later in the presentation. But after you record your responses to the questions, you can create a big interview critique appointment with Career Services where I will watch your videos and listen to your answers and give you feedback on your responses and let you know what you did well, what you might want to include, or what to leave out. So you can get personalized help with your actual answers through that type of appointment. You can also create a mock interview with Career Services. We can do this through a WebEx meeting right now while we're in the virtual environment. And if you'll tell me what position you're going for and what company, we can get you interview questions that will be more likely to be asked from that employer or that type of industry and make it personalized to you. We'll act out the interview over WebEx, and then at the end we can kind of debrief and talk about what went well, how you might improve for the actual interview or in the future. We also have practice questions for you on our website, which I'll show you how to get to as well. But you can practice those with your friends or family if you're not comfortable recording yourself, or if you're not comfortable meeting with a stranger just yet. You can first practice with your friends or family, or even in the mirror. So if you're even not ready to have your friends or family help you, just simply looking at yourself in the mirror and answering the questions and trying to articulate what you want to share can help you be better prepared. So just whatever version works best for you. There's also different types of questions that I want you to be aware of, such as your typical, tell me about yourself. What's your greatest strength? What's your greatest weakness? Those are just normal, typical interview questions. However, a lot of employers are going towards the behavioral interview, and it starts out like, tell me a time when. So they'll ask you for situations where you've worked on a team, where you worked with a difficult coworker, just situations like that. So you need to be thinking about what type of situations they may ask you about and have some stories ready for them. There's also problem solving and brain teaser questions that have become more popular. I had an employer at Carroll Electric tell me that he always asks, how do you make a peanut butter sandwich? And so he wants people to literally tell him all the steps that it takes to make a peanut butter sandwich. So opening up the fridge, getting out your bread, opening up the cabinet and getting out the peanut butter, and so on and so forth like that, to see if he can kind of catch you off guard and how will you handle a question like that. He also said a lot of people will add in jelly. So whenever I think of peanut butter sandwiches, I'm probably going to put jelly in there because that's how I prefer them. But he didn't ever say jelly. He said peanut butter. So he's trying to make sure that you're paying attention to the questions that are being asked of you. So I don't know how many employers will ask you questions like that, but I do know if you applied at Carroll Electric, they will pull a little question like that out of their hat and see how well you handle it. Some resources, in case you need them, are on our atu.edu/career page. And under the students, we have a link to our big interview, which I'll show you how to get there in a moment. We have practice interview questions you can download. We have flyers that have tips for before and after interviews, as well as videos for professional attire. And we're going to kind of go through that as well today at the end of the presentation. So to begin, when you're going to do an interview, you need to make sure that you do your research. You want to research the company and understand its mission and make sure that it's a right environment for you. So when you look at their mission, is it something that inspires you or that you can relate with and would want to be a part of? You can also ask people who work there how they feel about their jobs, how they like the company, and just get the insider's view on that company. You can also think of questions before you get there. So you're going to have questions. You're going to want to know what a typical workday looks like. You're going to want to know what the company culture is like. So think of questions before you get there so you can have them written down and ask the interviewer. Like I said, you can write them down in a Padfolio. So it's just a little notebook that you bring with you, and you can have them written down so you won't forget them. You can also use the Padfolio to take notes and write any questions that you come up with during the interview to ask at the end. And we do have some of these Padfolios for free at Career Services. So if you need one, you have an interview coming up, come and see us in Doc Bryan 153. You can knock on the door and we'll grab you one and give it to you. Also make sure that you look up directions to know where you're supposed to go for your interview before the actual interview. Typically going a few days before or even the night before, and making sure that you can find the office is a great idea. That way you're not running late. If something goes wrong in the morning, say there's an accident on the way, then you know where you're going and you're not going to need that time to find it. So we typically suggest arriving 10 to 15 minutes early. Trying to be there before you're scheduled and just showing that you're dedicated to this process, you're excited about the interview, and it gives you that little bit of wiggle room if something happens on the drive, you have that extra time. But we also say if you're on time to an interview, you're late. So you definitely want to make sure that you arrive early. You also need to make sure that you act and dress professionally, which seems like a duh. But you'd be surprised what some people may try to wear to an interview. So make sure you're dressing professionally, but you can still show your personality and fashion sense. We just really want to focus on your brain and what you can contribute to the company versus your fashion sense. When answering questions, we wanted to give you a few tips about these. We have the STAR method, which is used for behavioral questions. So like the situation that you should be able to tell them about. Tell me about a time when you worked with a difficult coworker or something like that. Those type of behavioral questions. And so STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. So that's sort of the approach you should take to these questions. Tell the employer the situation. So what's the context of your story? Then tell them the task. What was your role in that situation? Then action. What did you do? And the result. What did your actions lead to? And you can see on the slide there's an example of those for a situation that someone was in. So you can kind of read those on your own. I won't bore you by reading them to you. But you can use that as kind of an example of how to structure your answers to these behavioral type questions. Then when you answer the tell me about yourself question, a lot of people trip up on this one, so we really wanted to kind of just talk about it really quick. With tell me about yourself, you want to make sure that your answers are career focused. So talk about your education, maybe your previous experience or any volunteer work you do in your free time. We want to avoid personal information. You don't have to tell them how old you are. You do not have to tell them if you are married or not. You don't have to tell them if you have kids. We don't talk about pets or hobbies or things like that. They're really just wanting to know about your professional self. So tell them everything that you've done in your career and how you can add to their company. They can't legally ask you questions about your marital status, age, and things like that, so you don't want to volunteer it. Because again, we don't want to give them any reason to discriminate against you, and we really want them to focus on your accomplishments and what you know versus your age or anything like that. Some of you may have panel interviews So instead of just being a one-on-one interview, you and the employer, you may have multiple people interviewing you at the same time. So when this happens, it's like your normal interview, except now you got some extra faces to remember and to talk to. So you want to make sure that you engage with everyone. Even if one person asks you a question, you want to make contact with everyone as you are answering it. You might also want to write down the panel's names so that you can remember who you talked to for when you go back and write that thank you note at the end. You want to try to make it conversational when you're answering questions and show that you're listening. So if a question that was asked earlier by someone else kind of pertains to the answer you're about to give to this question, you can go back and say, as I said earlier to Bob, this is my answer. So it's going to be more natural and conversational. We just got to make sure that we're engaging with everyone, which can be hard. Which brings us to the next point, which is be patient. So there's a lot of different people in this interview. They may not have it very well planned out if someone was brought in at the last minute, or maybe they've just been doing this a lot, or you're the first one. Just be sure to kind of be patient and wait for the different questions to be asked, and of course answer them. You should also prepare follow-up questions for the panel. So just like a normal panel, or no, I can't talk. A normal interview, there we go, you will have the opportunity to ask questions back. So be able to come up with those follow-up questions and make it conversational like we talked about earlier. For virtual interviews, since in the COVID era we're doing mostly everything online, you have a few tips and tricks here. So even though you're virtually in this interview and they're not seeing your entire self, usually just your shoulders and up, you still want to dress professionally. You want to wear the full professional outfit, even though they may never see your legs. But we've all heard the horror stories of someone wearing a professional top and things, but they're in their pajamas, and then a kid or a dog comes into the room and they have to get up to get them out, and then we see that you're not wearing the full outfit. So you never know what may arise while you're on this video chat. So we just want to make sure that if you do have to get up, they can see that you're wearing the entire professional outfit. You also want to be aware of your background. So in your home, you don't want to find a place with a nice neutral background where there's either nothing on the wall or it's clean and it looks nice. I try to keep mine kind of clear so you don't have anything in the background that you may not have thought of being there. But make sure you have a professional background. I wouldn't really suggest doing the virtual backgrounds because sometimes they can be a little wonky, or we don't really need to be on the beach while we're trying to get a job, right? So use your own background. You also want to find a quiet spot that you won't be disturbed. So find a spot in your home or even coming to a room at Tech where you can just be alone. You can lock the door. You can be by yourself. You're not going to have family coming in or pets scratching at the door. We want to make sure that you can just focus on the interview and the task at hand. You also want to make sure that you're looking into the camera so that it appears that you're looking at the interviewer, I'm sorry. So I know that I'm always in the habit of looking at myself to see what I look like in the video, and we want to make sure that we're looking at the interviewer. And to have that perception, we'd need to look at the camera so that they can see our eyes. So make sure you're looking at your camera and just being confident in what you look like without having to keep glancing down at your video feed. Make sure you test your technology beforehand. You want to make sure that everything is working. You can check the day before, you can check an hour or so before, but we want to make sure we avoid technical difficulties. Earlier, I had a meeting with an employer and my camera and microphone would not work. I don't know why. I unplugged it, plugged it back in, restarted the computer, did all these things, and it's still not working. So we want to make sure we don't have that happen when you're in an interview with an employer. So make sure you check before that time comes where we're embarrassed because they can't hear us. You're going to use the same etiquette as in-person interviews. So you're going to greet everyone, You're going to be taking notes. You're going to have questions. You're going to be professional. It's just now you talking to your camera instead of looking at them face to face. So don't forget, an interview is just a conversation. You're just talking to another human being about a job you might like and trying to figure out if it's going to be a good fit for you. So remember that an interview is two-sided. Yes, they're assessing whether or not they want to hire you, but you're also assessing whether or not you want to work for them. So be sure to remember that you have the option to say no as well if you don't think it will be a good fit. So take a deep breath, relax, and be your professional self, and don't stress too much. It's always going to be nerve-wracking, but it'll be fine. They know that you're nervous, and they're going to try to be as nice to you as possible to make sure that you feel more comfortable, especially if they want you to be successful. So after the interview, you want to make sure that you bring some blank notes, thank you notes with you, and then you can give them out afterwards. You don't have to do the physical thank you card. You can do a thank you email, which is what a lot of people do. So that's kind of why I go towards the paper ones instead, because it shows a little bit more effort. So during the interview, you can be taking notes about things you discussed, or maybe if there's something you bonded over, or that was just really like a key piece of the interview, you can mention that in your thank you note. You want to write your thank you note in your car or shortly after your interview. You can either drop it in the mail or even walk it back in to give it to the receptionist or someone, so they will have it the same day. This way, the information, again, is fresh on your mind. It shows initiative on your part, and it's more personal and takes a little bit more effort than that thank you email might. If you do the thank you email, I would still suggest the same thing, where you take the notes and then you write it right after your interview and hit send, so that they know that you are really excited and dedicated to this interview and this possible position. So next, we're going to talk about your professional interview attire and what you might wear to an interview. One thing that I always love to point out is that if your pockets are sewn onto your pants, you are not wearing dress pants. So khaki jeans, colored jeans, jeans at all are not dress pants. If your pants have a button sewed onto the outside, they're a no-go, okay? We want our pockets on the inside looking professional. You all have probably seen the slacks where you have to like cut the pockets open on the back because they're on the inside. So make sure that you have professional dress pants. So first thing is interview attire for our ladies. So you always hear dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So you can see the difference between these two outfits and notice which one you think looks more professional even without the labels. So the lady on our left looks a little bit more professional than the lady on the right. And so we want to talk about what you should wear. So ladies, you do want to wear collared tops, blouses, anything that is a nice top and not like a t-shirt material. On the right here, it's a little bit more of a t-shirt type shirt. So nice blouse. You can wear slacks or a skirt that's knee length, or even a dress that's knee length. We want to stick with closed-toed shoes. You could add a blazer, some subtle jewelry. We typically suggest one ring maximum and maybe a watch, but we don't want a whole lot of jewelry like this chunky necklace right here. We want it to be understated. So again, the employer is focused on you and what you bring to the table versus what you're wearing. We don't want to wear anything that's low cut, no short skirts, no leggings or denim. Avoid t-shirts, sleeveless tops, or flashy heavy jewelry. And with interviews, less is more. You want to make sure you look sharp and professional. So there's some more examples of what you should wear on this page. If we look at this top graphic first, business formal is always going to be a great option because it's a full suit. She's wearing a button-up shirt and she looks professional. Business is also great. It doesn't have the blazer, but she still looks really professional. Business casual, slacks and a cardigan, that's appropriate too. So if you don't have any, like a full suit, or it's been a while since you've worn your full suit and you don't want to go out and buy a new one, you can make other things work. So please don't feel like you have to go invest a ton of money, but make sure that we're not wearing jeans. So smart casual is a no-go. The only thing she need to change to make it a go is her pants. So she has a nice blazer and a nice top. The shoes are closed-toed, but she's wearing jeans. So if she switches that to slacks or something, she would be ready to go to her interview. And then, of course, casual is never acceptable because this is not a casual event. You want to show them how professional you can be. On this bottom graphic, all of these outfits would be appropriate for an interview. Business formal again, dressy business casual. You can see she's wearing a statement dress instead of a pencil skirt. And then on smart casual, this one is acceptable because they're wearing khaki slacks or a khaki pencil skirt. So any of these would be good to wear to your interview. We have a lot of different options as ladies, so whatever you have in your closet that you can make work would be fine without having to go spend a lot of money on a new suit. For the gentleman, we have a similar graphic where we have the man on the left in a full suit and looks like he's ready to go to his interview. On the right is another gentleman who's well dressed but is more casual, and so we want to avoid this type of dress. And they can tell you all these different little things and why this man is a don't. So making sure your facial hair is neat and trimmed, not having some busy patterns, not rolling up your pants, or not wearing socks. So he has nice shoes on and he's wearing khaki pants, but they're rolled up and we don't have socks. So you can look at this a little closer. But men, you do want to wear your collared shirts, some slacks, matching belt and shoes, dark socks, a dress shoe, maybe a suit jacket or coat, a tie, and possibly a watch and one ring. You don't want to wear heavy shiny jewelry, earrings, white socks, no socks, pants with cargo pockets, shorts, denim, t-shirts, athletic attire, or wrinkly and dirty clothing. So my husband will not iron anything, and I always iron it for him. So make sure you've ironed your clothes or ask someone to help you do that. It says no earrings. So some men will have your ears pierced, and that's fine. But in an interview, you might want to take them out. Just another example, my husband has his ears pierced, but he removes them for work because his employers don't like them. Just kind of still not fully accepted. I feel like it's way more accepted than it was previously, but it's still not in the professional environment for some reason. We have another graphic with your outfits, and again, business formal is great to wear. You do not have to have a full suit with a vest inside of it. A sports coat is fine with a tie if you have access to that. Business is great. He's wearing a button-up shirt, a tie, and some nice slacks. And then business casual, again, is fine. It's a polo and some khaki pants. He looks nice. Smart casual, again, is where we go off the rails. If he switches from jeans to slacks, he'd be ready to go. For casual, also, again, it's just never acceptable. Even though he has a button-up collared shirt, it's a plaid shirt. It's more fleece than professional. So be careful with the casual look. So remember, it's an interview and not a fashion show. We want you to be judged and remembered for your answers and your knowledge, not your appearance, okay? So make them focus on the words you're saying and not what outfit you've worn. You want to make sure you wear an outfit that you're comfortable in and that you're not constantly adjusting your clothing. So you may have something that's a little bit too tight that you're constantly messing with, or ladies, we may wear something that's a little too short that we're concerned about. So make sure you're comfortable in what you're wearing and that you won't have to keep poking at it or adjusting it. You can also always speak with us if you're unsure about the outfit you have chosen. So if you have an outfit you're thinking about wearing to an interview and you just want a second opinion, you can talk with us at Career Services, and I'd be happy to help you figure out whether it's appropriate or not. Remember that professional dress is not just for interviews. You can dress professionally daily at your job, and you should. Depending on your job, what's professional will be different. Working in a hospital, they're not going to expect you to be wearing an interview outfit every day. Maybe scrubs is professional for you. Maybe you're more of an administrative role, and wearing some nice slacks and a top is all you have to do. But make sure you know your company's dress code and that you follow it, and that you're following those guidelines and being your professional self at work. And then finally, we have some resources for you. You can make an appointment with us at atu.joinhandshake.com. You can find those interview questions. You can find resume and cover letter templates and things like that on our atu.edu/career page. You can also practice your interviewing skills with our atu.biginterview.com, which I'll show you in just a moment. And then we also have videos for tips on interviewing, resumes and cover letters, professional dress, and a lot more on our YouTube channel. We're trying to constantly add to this channel and have it for you as a resource. Sometimes reading the flyer is not the best option and you need a video to help explain it to you, so we try to do it more than one way. You can also reach out to me personally at alo7@atu.edu or call our office at 479-968-0278. So before I let you go, let's go through Big Interview really quick. Okay, so we'll escape and we'll do this a different way. Okay, so to go to Big Interview, it's simply atu.biginterview.com. And again, this is purchased for our Arkansas Tech students. You do not have to pay anything. You simply have to register. So you'll click the register button at the top right, and you will fill in your ATU email, the same password as your ATU login, and then your first name and last name. That's all they ask. And then you create your account. Once you create your account, you'll go to login and log in with those same username and password. Tell them that you're not a robot, and then sign in. This is the home page of Big Interview, and you can start at the top of the page. So where I typically suggest that you go first is practice. And under practice, you can choose from practice interviews. You can use their answer builder to help you build your answers. I know, crazy, right? They have a question library where you can see all of the questions they could possibly ask you, or do interview roulette where they will give you random interview questions and you can challenge yourself with that. But under practice interviews, they have different categories you can choose from. There's the general interview questions. So this is your typical, tell me about yourself. What's your greatest strength? What's your greatest weakness? Things like that, that 80% of the interviews will have. You can also do industry-specific ones. So if you have a certain job in mind or one related to your major, you can use industry. They also have admissions. So if you plan on going on with your education and having a higher degree than what you are currently working on, there are admissions interviews to help you with that. So medical school, veterinary school, graduate school, everything like that is under admissions. And then they have government. So if you're wanting to go into federal or state jobs, you can do those as well. Or if you're a veteran, there's even a category for them. And then, of course, competencies or skill sets you want to emphasize can help you there as well. But again, industry is one of the best ones that you can use because they kind of combine everything. So I'm just going to choose communications, let's say. So they have the popular occupations. You can find the one that matches what you're looking for. I'm going to click on communications, and it will give you a couple categories that go into that. So American Sign Language interpreter or translator. So I'm just going to click on the ASL. And they will give you a general interview for that job, as well as some skill-related ones that pertain to that career choice. So you will need people skills. You need to be a team player and calm under pressure. And they have those ready for you so you can practice, or you can choose the general one. So I'm going to choose the general one. You would need to allow them to use your microphone and camera. I'm not going to, simply since we're going through this. But your picture would appear here. You would click play and listen to Pam ask you the question, which will be walk me through your resume and most relevant experience. Then you would record yourself answering this question, and you can record it as many times as you need to. So if you try it the first time and you hate your answer, or you tripped and you want to practice again, you can re-record as many times as you'd like. You can click next question and then answer the next one, or you can click on them and jump around between them, answering whichever ones you feel most comfortable starting with. It's up to you. If we go back to practice, If we go back to practice and industry, if your occupation is not in these categories, they do have another tab called ONET Database, and you'll click on this, and then you can search the categories, or you can type in the name of what you want to do. So I'm going to click on Marketing Managers. So they have at least one interview for all the different job categories that they have in their system. So you should be able to find what you need to practice. So again, you can click on that and do the different questions. It's really up to you. When you go back to your dashboard, you can see the ones that you have in progress and continue that. So if you start with your first interview and after, say, 2 or 3 questions, you need to go do something else, it will save your progress and you can come back to it later without having to go through all of those steps. So a big interview is a great resource for you. Once you finish those, you can share your recordings with my email or our career.services@atu.edu email, and I will get that to watch them and give you the feedback on your answers. So I'll go back to PowerPoint really quick so you can see my contact information again. Oops. Let me try that again. There we go. Okay. So again, all these links are here for you. I will put them in the description of this video. So if you're watching it, you can go down to the description and be able to click on any of these links to get you there. If you need to email me or ask questions about any of this process, my email is again alo7@atu.edu. Thank you so much for being here. We hope to see you at the other CRI events. If you haven't got to see some from earlier in this month, they are in the same playlist. Thank you so much. Have a great day.